Alright, here we go, I'm back. I'm back. Now this thing is really sucking. A few technical issues this morning, no big deal. I don't know why, but the new laptop, put the HDMI cable to it. It shows the screen, the home screen laptop. I hit the internet, it won't show the internet screen on this screen. I've been wrestling for 20 minutes, I've had enough. But all I wanted to do was show you guys this video and see what you thought. Now, I had a couple thoughts on this, and I think it's important to share this and talk about it just for a minute. So I caught a clip, I think it was Candace Owens was interviewing some dude, I don't even know who it is. I didn't watch from the beginning. All it was about Airlines Flight 370, I believe it was, and how it vanished. Now, allegedly, this is legitimate. And it shows what, thermal video here, I think. We'll look at the video together. Check this out. Now check this out. So, hold on a minute. Let me try that again. Come on. Why? Alright, so there we go. So we got this airliner, passenger jet, zooming through the sky. It looks like two different angles. Definitely looks like thermal on the left. I know that is thermal. The right could be a thermal setting. Here's the jetliner flying along. And all of a sudden, these three, you want to call them orbs, lights, whatever you want to call it, three lit up objects. It looks like they're mathematically separated perfectly in a triangle. Start circling around the plane as it's flying. And then the plane instantly vanishes. Huh? Here we go. Boom, gone. Gandhi, just like that, in front of your eyes. Video evidence for all you people that demand video. Now let's just say that that's absolute legitimate real. I don't know, I wasn't there. But from what I have learned here, what we've all learned together, is when something is eye-popping, unexplainable, probably unbelievable, it doesn't get too much attention when it's valid. Right? Proven by us and what we've all seen here. A lot of us have seen during our lifetimes. Truth, absolute truth, but mind-boggling truth, doesn't get too much public attention. Right? So, all I'm saying is, if that is the case, and this is legitimate, it's not going to get too much public attention, right? But a few people are going to get, it's going to catch the attention of a few people, eventually, if it's legitimate, who actually probably have some kind of a reach, an online presence, which has been going down a lot lately, right? As everyone shifts away from mainstream news. Fake news. So, what I'm saying is, when you see something like this, and allegedly there were some scientists or engineers on there who had developed some kind of a chip which rapidly functions at room temperature. I don't know anything about chips. I guess that's a huge bonus. The technology is off the chart, and they're all on board flying to China. Just for that fact alone, I'm guessing this technology, if it's valid, and it did make that airliner disappear and go somewhere else, and it was full of engineers or scientists who had knowledge and are headed to China, then that, for me, would be a red flag saying, man-made, right? Human-controlled. You know what I mean? If there's some kind of outer entity not from this planet or this level of vibration we are on currently, I'm sure they wouldn't be too concerned about a few simple human scientists or engineers traveling to another country to give them some information. Pretty sure it wouldn't be too much of a concern to a group of beings who can pull that off from another, who knows what, galaxy, planet, I don't know. But what I'm saying is, but the main point, I know I'm rambling, I never rehearse anything. But the main point that I'm thinking is, if that is legitimate, then that is an absolute in-our-face example that No matter who you put in front of that TV screen, no matter what puppet you put in the position of leader in the globe, it doesn't matter. We are all peons. That's the point I'm trying to get across. If that is legitimate, somebody out there can intentionally pull off what we just saw in that video. This whole lifetime is such a frickin' gong show. The lifetime that we have been thrown into and manipulated into getting in line and not being allowed to know the true truth about much. Right? Don't you think? I mean, that is a in your face. We are absolute nothings. We are absolute peons to somebody or something going on during this lifetime that we are sharing, if that is legitimate video. Right? So what do you guys think? Did that really go down? Is that legitimate? It sure is getting a lot of attention. No, it's not getting a lot of attention. It's getting attention of people who speak truth, and it's not being pushed on us mainstream. So an indicator to me that makes it lean towards the possibility of being more valid is it's not getting too much attention publicly via mainstream, right? But what an example of us just being absolute walking pickles. You know what I mean? Walking pickles, meaning smart as a frickin' pickle in a jar with all the rest of the pickles, and we are just an absolute peon when it comes to intelligence during this lifetime. Potential of intelligence, do you know what I mean? Holy shit. You know, just when you think you're starting to figure out a bunch of stuff and you're getting ahead, you see something like that, and it makes you go, oh my God, you've got to be kidding me. Really? Really? That's how simple we've been raised and herded to be? Damn it. You know what I mean? Damn it. I don't want to be simple. I don't want to be a worker bee. I don't want to fall in line. I don't want to accept made-up truth from a group of controlling psychopaths. I don't want to play that game. I don't want to play this game. I don't want it. Do you know what I mean? Frustration to the max. I don't want to play this game anymore. I want to be free, absolutely free, and I want to know everything. Don't you? Isn't that frustrating when you see something like that? Well, anyway, I guess for some reason we're meant to see that and kick our brains in gear, possibly in another direction. What the hell's going on? Where did the jetliner go? Who did that? Why did they do it? Why don't we know about this? How come we don't get to play in the game, the real game, you know? It's not fair. It's not fair. Now, moving along, let's hear some voices, let's hear some truth. You know, that's one thing we can do. We can start to peel those layers of the onion back, you know? We can start peeling it back. Learn what we can. What's this titled? This is titled Thoughts. Never a shortage of those here. Just even friends from the point of no return. Excuse me, I want to share a quick thought in regards to the Sasquatch peeping into windows, scaring people, and the like. So just to play devil's advocate here, as horrible and frightening it is to see one of these giant folk peeking in your window, putting the fear of dread into you, stealing chickens and garden stuffs, we really have to reverse the situation and put us, humans, in the peeping seat. Think of all the whale and dolphin watchers. Now think of all the scientific taggers, researchers, and the like. Now think of a 9-year-old child stumbling across a hole under a small stump containing baby rabbits. The examples can go on with humans in the driver's seat. Eagle cams watching eagles. Steve, the great tracking guide, going out to scout a monster elk or monster of a mountain goat, ram, or sheep. You get it, right? As the continual peeping into their world is no different than the Sasquatch peeping into our houses. Sure, it's a bit pervy, yet it could be just as innocent as a child stumbling upon a den of baby animals and goes back daily to see their progress. That's it. I'm sure I'm not the only one who may be thinking this. Not to defend any perverts, but honestly, I would think that most Sasquatch fall under the curious and innocent. My goodness. To all the baby rabbits, we must look just as monstrous, especially when we take the babies from their little nests thinking they are abandoned. Sure, there probably are pervy Sasquatches just as there are pervy humans. That's it. Thanks, Steve, and all the folks who share the stories. All right. Well, you never know. You never know. Maybe we are, maybe we aren't. I don't know. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. I don't know. Sorry. 1949 Oklahoma incident. Dear Steve and Sarah, fellow knowers in Sabe. I just saw the Oklahoma 1949 incident in reference to Sabe/Woodboogers. Steve, this older man of wisdom, you must hear what he has to say. He's got a lot of knowledge firsthand in a time before internet, news, and the Sasquatch crazy. If you could please find him and hear his truth. He also believes that the government is keeping these beings and other topics under wraps. He's one of us. Your Army Combat Infantry veteran, banner guy, Sergeant Jesse Montagne. Hooah. Say my name. Screw the a-holes. All right. Thanks for the heads up. I will look, man. I trust your brother. I'll look into it, and I apologize if I pronounced your name wrong. I'm sorry. Sorry. We were talking about languages last night, actually, at the dinner table, and we were talking about how they make everybody learn French here in Canada, which I refused to do as a kid. And I was saying to Sarah and the boy last night, I said, you know what? If I had a choice, if I could, I would learn Spanish. But we don't have Spanish up here in our school system. And we don't have very many Spanish-speaking people up here. I wish we did. I love that language, actually. But I would love to learn. I wish I could speak it fluently. A huge thank you to you and the Howden family. Dear Steve and the Howden family, words can never begin to express my gratitude to the outpouring of love and prayers for my very young grandson, Ashby. We nearly lost the beautiful little guy just before Christmas. As I type these words, his mom, my daughter, and dad are bringing him back home to West Virginia from the hospital. God is great. Aha! Good news. Heartfelt thanks to all who lifted up prayers on behalf of Ashby and my family, the medical staff at Inova Fairfax Hospital are superheroes as well, of course. They definitely received some divine assistance. I have zero doubt about that. We're feeling much relief and gratitude beyond words here today. Thanks, Steve, so very much for sharing my prayer request. The power of prayer is real. We have received the best Christmas gift ever. Much love and gratitude from West Virginia, John Holiday. P.S. Thank you and Sarah for feeding so many hungry children. Leading by example, love it. All right, what a great email. The power of prayer is very, very real. Very real. This is a great place to get them. They're free. You know what I mean? They're free and they come by the tens of thousands through us. So that's a real great email to share here. Now, 1 minute. All right. Who's next? This is titled Chilling Wilderness Story. Sasquatch or ? Howdy, I love your channel on YouTube, and I thought I would share this story, as it has me disturbed ever since, and I'll try to make it as detailed without dragging on too long. A girlfriend of mine, Taryn, was renting a place on Pitt Lake, where it's boat access only. Red flag right there. That's right over here above Vancouver, right in the middle of it. Where it is boat access only, the boat access area that is close to Swanisett Golf Course, with a boyfriend at the time. They invited me to come for Thanksgiving, Canada Thanksgiving, and I've never been to a boat access only area and was very excited. When I arrived to the area, it was a It was a property that had a main or larger cabin and multiple smaller cabins, which my friend was renting a smaller one. The owner, Jim, which I changed his name out for privacy, was there doing some end-of-season yard work and stays in the main house/cabin. I sat with him for a bit as he was drinking a beer and was going to take off back to town before dark. Taryn asked him to tell me about his eerie experiences since owning this property. Although he is a super quiet guy, he decided to share the story. Right on, I'm all ears. We chatted for a while, and he said he had bought this place a while back, and him and his wife used to stay here a lot, but don't anymore because she hasn't been well. He also has 3 dogs, which is a detail that is important to the story. Jim said he had 2 very chilling experiences, and as someone who is very outdoorsy, has never been afraid of bears or anything like that. There was an old mine up and behind where his house is, and a road that is sort of overgrown now. He took one of his dogs for a walk towards it one day, and the dog always runs ahead to explore and such. They were about 30 minutes into the walk towards the mine on this day, and his dog all of a sudden squealed loud, turned around at full speed, ran past him back towards the house. Jim turned around and ran after the dog. When Jim made it back to his property, his dog wasn't in the house, and his wife said that the dog ran onto the deck and into his boat. Jim found his dog shaking and hiding under the front part of the boat, which he has never seen his dog do. His dog sees all sorts of bears and such and doesn't act like this. Yeah, there's both grizzly and black bear at Pill Lake. Fast forward 2 years after that. And typically, side note, when a bear violates a dog, chases a dog, it chases the dog right back to the owner every time. Fast forward 2 years after that. Jim and his wife are in bed one evening, and none of the other cabins are occupied. They are remote access only, and the day was very hot, so they had their door open downstairs, and the dogs kind of roam in and out. They're not worried about any people there because you would hear a boat pull up. And all of a sudden, all 3 dogs booked it upstairs into the room and were trying to get under them in the bed. A similar reaction to the day with the dog in the boat shaking. Jim said him and his wife heard some grunting downstairs, and being as silent as possible, they listened for about 50 minutes and could hear grunts that were going back and forth, what sounded like maybe 3 close but different locations, like a continual dialect or conversation of some sort. He was positive it was not the nattering of bears and was very familiar with the sounds that bears make. When the grunting stopped, it was approximately an hour. When the grunting stopped, and it was approximately an hour, he ran downstairs and locked the door. The dog seemed relaxed, so he felt he was safe to do so. In the morning, Jim went onto the porch with his coffee and cigarette and was looking into the yard where he has pear and apple trees. When I was there, I saw a few rows of trees. Not an orchard, but a good amount of trees. Anyway, when Jim looked out, he noticed he couldn't see any fruit on the trees. He also looked down at the grass, which he had been meaning to mow, and it was all combed to one side. He walked over to the trees and was horrified. He noticed that all the soggy apples and pears that were on the ground and rotting were also removed. Literally looked finger-combed out of the long grass. After inspecting the trees, he noticed that no branches appeared to be damaged from the removal of the fruit. Jim said he was feeling uncomfortable because if it were bears or other animals, he isn't sure how they would have carried that much fruit. They don't carry it, they eat it right there. And they climb the tree and hang in the tree and eat it. And they rip branches off to get it on the ground. Certainly eating a bunch, but from the amount of fruit he had, whatever it was, it had to have carried a lot with them. My girlfriend Taryn, who was renting a cabin there, was sure it had to be something different. On a few occasions, she would go out to start the generator in the dark, and she said sometimes all the hair on her arms would stand up, and she would get this feeling she was being watched. She's a very intuitive individual and said very rarely in her life would this happen. Jim told me that he never told that story for many years because he was afraid people would think he was a quack. Until one day he was having dinner with some people who owned the property across from him, a retired teacher and a city council person. They asked Jim if they ever noticed anything weird in the area. Jim said no. They said that about 6 family members had rented an RV and had it nearby where the road access starts to load everything in. When they were driving away, they noticed something that was running fast across the road. At first, they thought it was a bear, and then noticed that it was standing up, but kind of hunched over and really tall. There was this kind of pause or slow motion kind of thing, and look, and the thing took off to the other side and used its arm to leverage its jump, or lift its legs over the concrete guardrail where the road turns. The thing disappeared over the edge. They stopped the RV to look over the side because it's a bit of a cliff about 40 feet down and figured whatever it was must be badly injured. There was no sign of anything at all. The occupants seen this thing at some point. There was no sign of anything, and all the occupants seen this thing at some point of it crossing and jumping, so are confident they were not imagining anything. Well, that's the story. It's been a few years, and I still remember it well because my opinion of Jim is he isn't a man of many words, and I did not feel he was exaggerating or making anything up. Hope you enjoy. There you go, Pit Lake. You know what? I don't know if you're in touch with that guy or not, but if you are, maybe do me a favor and send him this video. All right? Send him this video. He might know more. So what do I know about Pit Lake? I know that some guys jet boated to the head of Pit Lake, hiked up the river, and saw one of these people walking down the river toward him until it saw them looking at him and took off again on a riverbed, right? I also know some search and rescue people in Whistler who were looking for a man who set off on a trail. Apparently there's a trail in the mountains from Squamish alongside there that goes in North Bend or something, and they were looking for signs of him. They found him dead, but they were looking for signs of him and found a huge 17-inch footprint. Sent me the photo of it a long time ago. And those same search and rescue people also saw huge footprints, 6 foot stride, sunk 3 times deep into the snow as theirs, coming downhill from the Wendy Thompson hut, which is on the Duffy Lake Highway, dropping down towards Mount Currie. Side note. So yeah, Pit Lake, on fire. Always has been, always will be. Always will be. Appreciate that email, man. Hope you're still here. No title in this email. Hello. I was just listening to a story about your tree stand, how it was built. And you know that feeling of being watched and getting so scared in the bush by myself. Okay, here it is. Do we have any punctuation? No. Here we go. I was helping this guy with rice harvest. He was alone in our camp. Sun was down and very quiet night. Had just sat down after making a nice fire. Right, beautiful night. Until I hear this really, really loud screaming noise. Oh my God, my heart is beating so fast. My eyes are wide looking everywhere. I never heard anything like it in my life. Like this thing was loud. Whooping scream. Seemed like it was 10 yards away from me. It was so loud. The hair on my neck and the chill I got, man. I ran to the tent, grabbed a 410 and 22 was all I had, loaded the 410, shaking, trying to get the bullet in. I don't know how I did it, but got it done so fast. But shot 4 different ways up towards the trees, right? I thought, well, if this is someone doing this, didn't want to shoot anyone, right? So yeah, I'm reading word for word. I then made a bigger fire, looking everywhere, holding this gun. I sat there for hours looking everywhere. Oh, and I couldn't get put of was an island close, but there was a spot where something big could walk through the water, 4 feet deep at the end of this island. Excuse me, that was a bit of a typo. After I had taken the shots, it got quiet. Never heard anything until 6 a.m. again. 6 times. Loud, screaming sound. Like, I know what the sound of most animals, but this was something I've never heard in my life. The guy was paying $200 a day, but there was no way I was going to go spend another night in that camp. I quit the same day. As soon as my boss came back that morning, I told him to get me out of there. I got my stuff in the boat, still looking everywhere. After hearing that noise, I always think of that night when I go up in any bush anywhere now. And oh, the place I heard this thing was northern Saskatchewan. There you go. And I got a feeling your boss at the time probably didn't question you. I'll bet he wasn't surprised. I'll bet ya. If you're still here, and if there's any possible way you have an email to that man, send him this video. And maybe he'll email us. I'd bet my life on it that guy knows what's up. Who's next? This is titled Sighting 3 Weeks Ago. It's an older email, though. Steve, I'd like to stay completely anonymous, as I still hold a position in state agency, and this could affect any further employment at a new agency. Yeah, sorry to hear that. The part that you're working for a government. It's hard enough to get hired in a job, let alone advancement at my age. That said, I'm in good health, active, and have many outdoor hobbies, such as hunting, both bow and gun, fishing, and camping for the last 60 years. My daughter attends the University of West Florida and just finished getting her settled in her dorm room, stocked up on groceries and other essentials. I left in the late morning to head back home, which is east of Pensacola, some 3+ hours. All through the first hour or so, there were tremendous rain bands like we are used to here in Florida. And as I was traveling on Interstate 10, the trailer trucks would put up a literal fog of water spray. So I wasn't going more than 50 miles per hour. As I got out of the last rain band, the sky got brighter and brighter to the point where I could get back up to 70 miles per hour. I was still following a car at about 10 car lengths. I checked the rear view, no traffic behind, and I remember looking around the car ahead. And nothing for some distance. I was just about ready to pass the white car when he put on his brakes, and I closed the distance to him fairly quickly. I braked also, not knowing what was ahead of him. Maybe a truck tire carcass. And he could swerve into my lane as I passed him. Even though I'm driving a pickup truck, I ride a motorcycle and sort of drive like I ride, very defensively. As I slowed, I noticed some movement off the road. We were both in the right lane. On the other side of the guardrail, something caught my eye. We had just come over either a swampy area or a small creek. So there was a guardrail over that area. Still, there was a gully between the guardrail and the tree line, maybe 20 feet deep. Almost instantly, I thought bear, but wrong color. Our bear here are jet black, and if they stand, and you have the rare chance to see that, they aren't very tall. And the next thought I had was a man in a ghillie suit, but wrong again. This is not material, it was hair. Matted down, wet hair. And the height? Maybe 8 feet. It was huge. So as I saw it, by this time I was almost stopped. The car ahead directly ahead of the creature, a beam of the creature ahead probably, and stopped or very slow. What I saw was a living creature. Everything articulated perfectly. Head, arms, and legs. I had a profile to a back view of it. Saw its muscles in the upper back. The color wasn't exactly uniform, but varied between shades of chocolate brown. The head looked rounded. I couldn't see ears or a neck, but it definitely had a head and looked down before stepping into the gully. At the time, I saw arms that moved, but really saw the separate legs and saw what was matted hair stuck together from the leg. It stepped down. rounded the gully and out the other side to go into the tree line. Its motion was very smooth, almost like it was gliding. So even if a man could don a suit and act like an 8-foot-tall living creature, how did he manage to walk down a steep embankment that was grassy and wet? Any human would be on his ass or tumble dangerously down that embankment. Anyway, I hurriedly called the wife, who laughed at me for a minute or two, but then realized I was serious. She said, "Get the license plate of the car," which I didn't. "And where are you?" I was surprised that I hadn't done all that. Frankly, I think I was dazed. "Well, I know there's something else." "Sorry?" "Well, I know there's someone else that saw this thing. But that's about all. I would estimate this thing weighed about 400 to 500 pounds. It wasn't fat or barrel-chested. It wasn't skinny either, like it didn't have enough to eat. It was healthy and athletic in appearance, and it sure covered a difficult area in no time. And by the way, this interstate highway cuts through the Eglin U.S. Air Force Base." Boom, in your face. There you go, another one. Another one. And, sorry, I just got a text. How many people that felt like they needed attention woke up in the morning and thought to themselves, what should I make up today? As I've said a million times. Right? What should I make up today? Not that story. That wasn't made up. No way. Appreciate that sharing, man, and I got a funny feeling if that person in the other vehicle is still ripping around, they may be here watching too. Wouldn't be surprised at all. Next. Scared shitless by a Sasquatch, the title of this email. "Hey Steve, before I tell you what happened, let me preface by telling you why I am sharing with you. Okie dokie. I admire your screw the douchebags attitude. I've been around for quite a few years now, and sadly, I have to say that men like us are fewer and farther between. The world is filled with sissified window lickers who are too whipped to stand up like men and call bullshit when the need arises. So to me, you're a rare breed these days. Anyway, thanks for what you do. I wish I could afford to spend a week or two with you in the mountains. It's not easy to find men to hang around and bullshit with. This story is kind of long, but I wanted to give you the whole picture surrounding this event. Anyway, on to my story. Okay, brother. Thanks for the kind words, man. There's lots of people around who don't take shit, especially here. It was the summer of '65 in western Washington. I was 7 years old, and like most summers, I was spending a few weeks with my maternal grandparents up the Wishkah Valley. Back then, it was pretty remote where they lived. Their property was accessed by a narrow dead-end county road that had only recently been surfaced with oil and chip. Their house was a typical 2-story white farmhouse. It was off the county road about 100 yards. There was around 10 acres of land that had been cleared for pasture. The rest of the 40 acres was covered in mostly Douglas fir, cedar, and underbrush, so thick you couldn't see as far as you could spit. About 25 yards from the house was a steep canyon that had a decent-sized creek that ran down to the river. When I stayed there, I slept in the upstairs bedroom at the back of the house. The window faced the pasture that bordered the little canyon. I had gone to bed and was sound asleep. Since it was a warm summer night, I slept with the window open. The next thing I was aware of, I was on the floor on my hands and knees, scared out of my mind. Not even aware of why. Something had obviously alarmed me. I stayed there for what seemed like 10 minutes, but was likely more like a minute or two, wondering what the hell was wrong with me. I finally convinced myself it must have been a bad dream, and was about to get back into bed when I heard the most god-awful roar I've ever heard. It was coming from the canyon near the house. Imagine a 1,000-pound lion roaring that had lasted for longer than any roar I've ever heard. It had to have been around 30 seconds. Whatever it was, it sounded huge and incredibly pissed off. A moment later, I heard trees cracking and popping like a D8 cat was running through the trees without the sound of an engine. Excuse me. My heart was pounding so hard, I thought it would burst. My mind was racing. What the hell could that be? My mind was desperately trying to come up with a satisfactory answer, but none came. And at the time, I'd never heard of Sasquatch. Needless to say, I didn't sleep the rest of that night. I wanted to close the window, but was too scared to go near it. I didn't want whatever that was to be aware that I was there. I eventually got back into bed and laid there until daylight trying to come up with an answer, but had no luck. To be honest, the closest thing my 7-year-old mind could come up with was a werewolf. And we all know those don't exist, right? The next morning, I was up with my grandparents at 4:30 a.m. My grandpa was a logger, so they were up early every morning. And I waited until Grandpa had gone to work and then asked my grandma if they had heard the roar. She said they must have been sleeping because they didn't hear anything. When I described it to her, she said, well, maybe it was a bear. I knew a black bear couldn't begin to roar that long, deep, or loud. And later that morning, I asked if I could call my mom. I didn't tell her what had happened. I just said I wasn't feeling well and asked her to come and get me. No doubt. I stayed at my grandparents' house the next few summers, but I stayed very close to the house, and no one had to look for me when it started getting dark. That's what happened to me, Steve. I have had a few brushes with them since, but luckily I went my way and left them alone. I'm still here to tell you my story. That's it, Steve. God bless you, and thank you again for what you do. And by the way, if you want serious answers about Sasquatch, William Jevning is a serious researcher that's been trying to find answers for 40 years now. He's far from the typical tree-whacking, whooping idiots that most of them are. He can answer many of your questions, including what the U.S. government knows. Oh, he has inside informants from 3-letter organizations that have had remarkable things to say. No shit. Take care of yourself out there. The world needs more men like you. Okay, man, thanks for the kind words and the suggestion. I don't know who that is. I guess I could look him up, but one thing, when you think about that, somebody's got inside information from 3-letter agencies, and their full name is listed in there too. I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying no, but I'm saying if you got those kind of connections, I don't think you'd be advertising that part of it publicly very enthusiastically, right? Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Don't know. Here's a short one. No title on this one. Thanks for sending that, man. Absolutely appreciate it. Big time. Hey there, my name is Brandon Lelyfield. Lelyfield? Lelyfield. I apologize if I killed your last name. Mine gets murdered all the time. I don't give a shit. I just want to say thank you for all the stories and thank you for how much passion you put into all that you do. I don't want to sound like another yahoo, but my whole life, all I've ever wanted to do is hunt night and day 24/7. I can relate. I was wondering just how one might get started on the path to hunt for a living. Hunting is what I live for, and every year I dread the last day of whitetail season. And unfortunately, whitetail deer is all I've ever been able to vigorously hunt, but I've always dreamed of being able to hunt all year round, even if it wasn't me doing the shooting, just being where the animals are. I know you're a busy man, and I know you have way more important things to do than answer my wild questions. But you can't win the lotto if you don't play, either way. I appreciate all the stories and how hard you work and how much you put into keeping us all entertained. You're doing great, and I'll keep watching. All right. There you go. Brandon, I've no shortage of people have asked me, hey man, can I come work for you, or how do I become a guide, or whatever. And if that's what you want to do, all you have to do is follow your gut, which is steering you in that direction, and it'll happen. All right? Don't do things that make you uncomfortable. Don't do things that make you not want to do them. Don't do things you don't want to do. That's a big mistake most of us make. But sometimes we have to take on jobs and do things and use them as stepping stones to get to where our soul's leading us, right? But If that's the lifestyle you want, then you're just going to have to decide to do it and don't quit and make sure you get it, no matter what. If you want to hunt all year, what would I suggest doing? I don't know. I mean, if you really wanted to bust it up, you get a hold of an outfitter in a remote area. Make sure they got a float plane and horses. I've shared this before. I'll do it again on closing. And you get a hold of them. You make sure they're a reputable outfit, a good one, a big one. It's been established for 20 years or something like that, right? In the Yukon, Northwest Territories, or BC. But you want the longer season. So you go to the Yukon, it's going to be shorter. Northwest Territories, shorter season because winter comes sooner. So you want to hit something like northern British Columbia, central or west. You look up the top outfitters around there. You get a hold of them. You tell them you want to come up and be a wrangler and learn the ropes. And they'll, more than likely, you hound them. They'll grab you. They'll take you on. And that's how it starts. And then, if you learn, keep your mouth shut, do what you're told and listen, then the guides will take you hunting for the day. And then you get to see how it goes down. And then you get to see all those exciting hunts that people typically pay $30,000 to $80,000 just to do that hunt. And you get to go there and do it for a few months and get paid to be there. Then you work hard, you get good at what you're doing, and then eventually you become a guide. And you love it, so you probably get good at it. And then you start guiding for a living. But what happens is you'll spend 3 months up there. 3 months. And then you get to go home. And then maybe possibly you work for an outfitter who sells or does whitetail hunts. Bear hunts. Hog hunts. Waterfowl hunts. You can bust up the season, right? I think you could probably, if you really wanted to hunt for a living, you could probably pull off at least 3, 4, 5, 6 months a year, maybe a little more, maybe, depending on what you can hunt and where you are and what the seasons are. Waterfowl, deer, elk, hogs be year-round, right? Bears in the springtime, turkey springtime. Head up north, do 3 months in the middle of nowhere. It's a very exciting lifestyle, man. Very, very healthy, too. Very exciting. You meet a lot of people. And you get to experience a lot of life. But anyway, there you go. I'm rambling. But that's how you do it, all right? Now I got to get going. It's our last day here. Sarah's in panic mode. I got most of my shit done except the new electric fence I bought for this pasture keeps popping the breaker. Why? I don't know. Damn it. So I got to fix that. Do a bunch of other shit. Get my stuff packed. Get ready to rock. And of course, what is there? 3 plane crashes yesterday? Right? The day before you're about to go fly. Oh well, whatever. But I will be back again maybe tomorrow before we leave. I don't know. We'll see. I think we got to leave kind of early, but you never know. I might get up at 5 and hit this. And if not, I'll hit it later on. I can take you guys along. Share my story at howtohunt.com. All right? Get your emails into me. Get your truth into me. Sarah's packaging the decals, the hats. Today is our last day packaging and shipping before we get back from holidays. So if you want something, you better email here pretty quick. Email or hit her How to Hunt store and get your order in quick, and it'll get shipped today. Same day. Same day order shipping goes down today. What else? Oh man, I forgot to mention all the food that we delivered yesterday and what went down with that. I'll do that next time. All right? I'll be back later.